Ladies and gentlemen, the first ever BMW M2 Coupe, and it's the very soul of what BMW stands for. The first ever BMW M2 is not only the legitimate successor to the 1 Series M Coupe, it also continues that tradition of compact, high-performance sports cars that started, of course, with the 200 Turbo that I just showed you. Now, it's characterized by a highly emotional M design language, a bold motorsport-inspired appearance with exceptionally wide stance, and that, of course, reflects its powerful presence. Now, the strong heart of the BMW M2 Coupe is its 3-litre, straight-six twin-turbo, an engine producing 365 brake horsepower, and a sprint from 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds, so a little better than that car from the 70s. And the new BMW M2 Coupe has all it takes. Extrovert styling, outstanding performance with rear-wheel drive agility, a lightweight aluminium front and rear axle directly from the M3 and M4 models.
I have Hussein Al-Attar here for the exterior design of the BMW M2 Coupe. He is the responsible designer, and if you're standing next to your baby, that's a special feeling. Yes, it is. If you take a look at the car, what was the most important thing on the design? What did you think was realized excellently? Well, the proportions speak for itself. The car is very compact, yet quite wide, which is a typical feature of BMW M cars. If we now look at the new BMW M2 Coupe and compare it with the, in parentheses, the normal M2 or the normal 2 Series Coupe, what's the difference? Well, we try to express the sporty nature of the car, and I think the width of the car is really something that we realized in a fantastic way. You have to stand next to the car to grasp how wide it is. 60 millimeters in front and 100 millimeters in the rear, wider than the normal 2 Series Coupe. And if you walk to the front end, you can see that also on the front end we have a very powerful expression with the outer air inlets and the winglets on the side. If you now look at the side view, then you see the very pronounced wheel arches to emphasize the powerful character of the vehicle. And the rear is also very important. I hope that is the perspective that everybody else will see. You can see we have 4 tailpipes, which are moved fairly inward in order to, again, emphasize the width of the car. And we try to keep the rear end very clean. So a wide body, that's a great compliment, isn't it? What was the inspiration? Well, naturally, the M vehicles, because the M history is very rich in inspiring models. Whether it was the E30 M3 or the 2002 or whatever. Fantastic cars, but we started with the 2 Series and we looked what would best suit the M2. We're talking about the technical highlights of the new BMW M2 Coupe, and I'm happy to have the experts here. Peter Schmidt is the person responsible for chassis and suspense. Joachim Röder is the powertrain expert, and Konrad Pointner is the expert for the body. And then we have Markus Engelke, who's sitting inside the car. Hello, Markus. What's found beneath the hood? That's the most important thing of a BMW M car. It's a 3-liter, 6-cylinder, high-performance engine with 370 HP output. The maximum torque rating is 465 Newton-meters, and with a brief overboost, up to 500 Newton-meters can be realized with wide-open throttle acceleration. Well, with BMW M automobile, suitability for the racetrack is also something important. It's an important criterion. What does it have to offer in this respect? Well, performance was something that was dear to our hearts, and suitability for the racetrack. And we modified a few small details. For example, an unthrottling of the intake air routing, a cooling system designed accordingly, a rugged oil supply, and last but not least, the exhaust system and the M sound that goes right along with it. And that's something we want to hear together now. Markus Engelke, push the button. And that is the M2 sound. But it's not only the engine that is important for such an automobile. There are many more components, for example, chassis and suspension. Peter, that's our thing to discuss. What was important for you? Well, precision is something that we thought was most important, which means that even the smallest input of the driver, be it on the steering wheel or on the accelerator pedal, is immediately transferred into a response of the car. We had an easy thing to accomplish because we were able to use the components of the big brother, the M4, that we were able to adopt for this M2 Coupe. For example, the complete front axle, the rear axle, the steering system, and also the limited slip differential of the M4 that was adopted. So everything comes from the top, so to say, from the next bigger brother. And test drives are important too. You like to test specifically on the Nürburgring on the legendary Notchschleife. And there's a special history associated with that. Yes, Nürburgring is our standard program. We're around about 15 weeks a year there. But what was the best thing there, our first trip around Munich, well, we were driving around and 2 hours later, the camouflage was gone. We had high-resolution pictures in the internet, even of the underbody of the car. So it doesn't take long until people really are familiar with the car. So Joachim Röder, you're the expert for Powertrain. And I think with the M2 Coupe, what is very important, that we have a manual transmission. Yes, manual transmission is essential for the purists who will love it, who like to change gears on their own. We have a 6-speed manual transmission, which was also adopted from the M4, with a dual disc clutch, which allows for a smooth takeoff and parking, but which can at the same time be really crisp and taut, like a rattlesnake, for example. And this in turn allows for the driver to immediately transfer his request of power to the rear wheels. Well, hopefully the car isn't parked like a rattlesnake. That would be the wrong way around. But we also have the M dual clutch transmission. Yes, that's something new for the segment. The M dual clutch transmission, which was also adopted from the M4. It was specifically tailored to the M2 with respect to driving dynamics, and it allows for automatic gear changes, cruising comfortably in style, but it at the same time allows to switch to the race mode and to really change gears in a very crisp and fast way to be on the road like a driver on the racetrack. Konrad Peutner is the expert for the body. So, Konrad, let's walk around this beautiful new car. What has changed? Well, apart from the doors, the roof, and the hood and trunk lid, everything is new. Also the underbody. Well, let's look about the wheel arch. Talk about the wheel arches. We spoke about this also when we talked about design. That was a challenge. Well, certainly that was a challenge. That was a problem regarding manufacturability. We had a considerable effort required in order to realize all that. And what was important and a challenge was the integration into the body in white. We came at a very late point in time, and all the body in white components had already been finished. So we had to adapt to the existing components such as the doors and the hoods. Well, we already saw that in design. Let's walk up front, because the M2 Coupe, you really have to look it into the eyes. What was the challenge up front? Well, if you look at the vehicle, then it's basically just a huge air intake. One of the requirements was to get as much air through the intakes as possible. Secondly, was implementation of the design. Thirdly, a realization of the crash requirements. We have a double web kidney, typical for an M, and we have air winglets which guide the air around to the wheels.